Okay, the audio recording has begun. First off, I want to thank you for signing the consent form. As a reminder, you do not have to answer any questions that you do not want to. Please take your time while answering the following questions. Are you a therapist or an assistant?
A therapist.
Where did you graduate from?
Stockton, New Jersey.
Okay. What degree did you graduate with?
Master's of Science in OT.
Okay. What year did you graduate?
2013.
Okay. How many years have you been practicing?
This March will be 4 years.
Okay. What state do you currently practice in?
New Jersey.
How long have you been practicing either part-time or full-time in the skilled nursing facility setting?
My whole run, 4 years.
Okay. How many different skilled nursing facilities have you worked in over your entire career?
2.
Okay.
Well, I've worked for 2 companies, but my current job, sometimes we go up to our sister buildings that are like up the road. Do those count as more than one?
Sure. Okay.
Sometimes we float, but it's not like I've had like 5 jobs in 5 different places. I've worked in technically 4 separate buildings, but 2 separate companies.
Right. Yep. Okay. Can you
We float.
Right. Yep. Can you describe the population you typically work with in skilled nursing facilities?
Frail elderly.
Okay. Can you describe some of the diagnoses or name some of the diagnoses you encounter?
Oh, sure. Hypertension, dementia, chronic kidney disease, chronic heart disease, obesity, diabetes, some secondary things like neuropathy, arthritis, osteo and rheumatoid. I see a fair number of some carpal tunnel, but some people just say they have carpal tunnel. They don't always produce evidence that they have carpal tunnel. Things like that. I work on contracture management, ADL dysfunction. Those are the interventions.
Okay.
But mostly it's like complex. Oh, respiratory. Like everybody has a respiratory problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Well,
can you provide? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
UTI. Sorry, it's all coming to my mind. UTI, pneumonia, sepsis, all those kinds of things.
Great, thank you. I know there's such a variety, really.
Unfortunately.
Right. Can you provide an estimate on what percentage of your typical caseload is usually over the age of 65?
99.9.
Okay.
Maybe, I should take that back, like 96. Because I do get people in their 50s and 60s who are chronically debilitated.
Okay. So about 96% you would say?
Yeah, sure, 96 is a good number.
Okay, thank you. How would you define community dwelling older adults?
Anybody who lives in a non-institution. So even if they live in like a leisure village type of senior apartment, if it's not a skilled nursing, in my opinion, that's how I understand community dwelling to be. So even though people come over and take care of them, they're still in a place that belongs to them where they rent it privately or through some kind of, money that they get from the state.
Right. Yes. And for this study, that's definitely along the lines and just interacting with, kind of being social, going out in the community once a month or however often they shall go out. And that includes medical appointments, social gatherings, religious services. Next question, what percentage of your caseload would you say is typically community dwelling older adults?
Maybe like half.
Okay.
Because when they come through, a lot of times it's like, oh, they live in a senior apartment with a caregiver, but they came to the hospital because they had a fall.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time they go home, but we do see a fair number of people end up staying. And then I treat a lot of the long-term care people too that already live in our place.
Okay. Thank you. What percentage? Go ahead.
No, that's it. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. All right, thank you. What percentage of these clients do you think eventually resume all the community activities they did prior to admission?
25% maybe. They come to us so old and debilitated.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know a lot of times I don't know if it's a first timer. Sometimes the families, I don't think they really think like therapists a lot, and they'll say, oh, she gets up. But in my opinion, it's a lot different from what is actually happening at the house.
Yep.
So a lot of times we get folks in there and either they go home with more help, and maybe they go home but they're now in a wheelchair, or we had to order a hospital bed or something, that kind of thing. Because sometimes people with dementia, they can, their routine and they'll, get up and walk around, but as soon as they fall down, that's the end of it.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
It's so hard to recover, especially if they come back with precautions or hips or whatever. It's so hard to teach somebody don't step on your foot all the way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so hard to relearn that. So
okay.
We do get some people who have chronic stuff, and it's just sometimes people think that you wave a magic wand and all of a sudden your diabetes goes away, but it really doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. What factors do you think impact whether or not a client immediately resumes community activities once they discharge, such as religious services, grocery shopping, medical appointments, interacting with friends?
Well, I think psych is a big one. People get very depressed,
mm-hmm.
whether they're depressed because they are understanding that they're not as functional as they were, or they have other dementia or something, and depression is secondary from dementia, so it's depression gets worse because, their body isn't moving anymore, and it's just, they're getting more sedentary, and your brain starts to just atrophy.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's the chronic sandwich generation, which is a real shame, where these people, they are just barely able to take care of their own selves and their own kids, and their elderly mom was kind of just sort of going along, but now everything's a huge problem, so mm-hmm. there's that. People need to work a lot, and when somebody gets older and sicker, they need more help, and a lot of times finances, they can't hire someone, or they can't find somebody good. The person they hire is terrible.
Right.
It's unfortunate. They could be terrible, or, just the other day, somebody in the next town got arrested for stealing all this people's jewelry.
Oh, my.
Unbelievable.
That is unbelievable.
So sad.
Wow.
And it's really sad because these girls aren't conniving thieves. They're probably, they have their own problems, and, hurt people, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Okay, thank you. What community activities do you think your clients are most likely to do again, and why?
Go to the doctor, because it's the only thing they have left.
Okay.
And sometimes the senior communities will send buses to take you.
Right.
That's it.
Okay. What community activities do you think your clients will avoid once discharged, and why?
Oh, God, their home exercise program, because they don't have a bushy-tailed, bright, young therapist to do it with them. You try to teach families, but they're so busy with the laundry and the cooking and the cleaning that to sit down and do the exercises is burdensome, and, the patients didn't really want to do them in the first place anyway.
Right.
They're depressed because they came in walking, and we're recommending they go home with a little bit more device, and they just want to do their own thing. A lot of times people have trouble with stairs, so their whole living situation gets turned around because they can't do the stairs anymore. That kind of thing.
Okay. And as far as actually going out into the community, do you think there are specific activities your clients will avoid?
No, I couldn't say that overall because so many of my people already have somebody doing the grocery shopping, and not so many people talk about church. Because so many times by the time people get to me, I'll ask about that stuff, and they go, oh, that's long done. They haven't been able to do X, Y, and Z in a long time.
Okay.
And if people go out, they'll say, like, if I go to the store, if they don't have the cart, I can't do it, like the cart that you can sit on and use, like that kind of stuff. It's tough, especially when people come off oxygen and they leave on oxygen. It's so hard to cart that stuff around.
Okay. All right, thank you. Are you familiar with the terms social isolation?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about social isolation among community-dwelling older adults. What would you define social isolation as?
Not wanting to see anybody and not wanting to go out.
Okay. Are there associated factors with social isolation that may keep these older adults from participating within their community once they discharge home?
Oh, yeah, sure. One of them is incontinence. That's huge.
Okay.
You're always wondering where the bathroom is, or you're embarrassed, or it's just too much work to manage all that stuff when you're out. Say the question again. What limits them from wanting to be social?
So associated factors with social isolation that keeps them from going into their community.
Right, I remember now. Yeah, incontinence. Sometimes people say they're just not up for talking, or they're not up for the activity. A lot of people will say, I don't feel like getting dressed, or a lot of times these ladies would get real made up, and now they don't really even want to show themselves if they can't get made up the way they used to.
Mm-hmm.
So people just don't find enjoyment because a lot of times people just worked until they didn't work anymore, and they didn't really even have time to develop hobbies when they were younger, so like nothing really interests them. Low vision and low hearing is huge because, people, they just feel like they can't have a good time if they can't see or hear.
Okay.
Which you get a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Status of the spouse. The spouse either is real ill or passed away, and they don't want to do anything without the spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people say they feel like they're a burden on their family members. Like, oh, well, why does your daughter take you to the whatever? Oh, she's busy and this, and this. That kind of stuff. Or people's kids have their own health problems because we're getting patients who are 100 years old, and their kids are 75.
Right.
So, they've got their own. I had a mother and a daughter in the place at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah. But dementia one, and the other one had, all this arthritis from being morbidly obese and then having gastric bypass and it's so bad.
Okay. Can you think of any other possible factors or barriers that can create social isolation among them?
Finances, big time. Everything costs so much money.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people feel like it's not even worth it to try to negotiate their finances to implement whatever it is they want to do. Lack of communication to figure out what is available. Maybe lack of things. Maybe people live too far away from it, or the things happen only a couple of hours during the day when it's, maybe it's really tough to get somewhere by 11 in the morning, and maybe they don't have anything at night. A lot of times nobody really talks to me about that kind of stuff because I feel like the patients that I have, they're just so desperate to get home, and all that other stuff comes later. It's unbelievable. I walk in, what do you need to do? I need to walk. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to do anything except walk. But you try to explain, and then what happens is that we get somebody walking, fine, whatever, and then they're back in 3 months. Oh, they just went home and laid in bed all day.
Right.
They didn't have nurses' aides and nurses and 5 therapists a day coming in and be like, come get up. They have one, and then caregiver burnout. Huge.
Yes. Yep. I agree with you. Okay. Yep. Once discharged, how do your clients typically get to their follow-up medical appointments?
Oh, my daughter takes me. That's it, the family.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sometimes I hear about people who have like the senior stuff, but typically those people have been doing this a long time. I've never helped somebody set up senior transportation. Usually the social worker would do that anyway.
Okay.
But I've never been in a meeting where they're like, yeah, let's set up the Monmouth County or Middlesex County transportation for you guys.
Okay.
You know, from our place, sometimes we'll take the ambulance, but that's like $800 or whatever.
Yes, it's expensive.
Mostly the family. Yeah, we teach them we try to teach people how to get everybody in and out of the car, but
oh, good.
that's into a thing.
Okay. Would you say most people are willing to do practice car transfers with you?
Most, yes, but not all. A lot of people are resistant. Oh, I know how to do that. Yeah, but we require it. We don't want you out of the building without it. It turns into a major thing. So
Okay.
either people resist or they refuse, and that's all we can do. If they refuse, then whatever.
Right, yep. Okay. Do you think transportation is often a hardship among this population?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think transportation is more difficult in either a rural or urban setting or about the same?
I think they both have their pros and cons.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What percentage of your typical caseload would you say still drives?
10. Barely.
Okay. What percentage of your typical caseload utilizes their social support system for transportation?
95.
Okay. And then what percentage would you give transportation services?
I don't know. A couple, like 5. I know that doesn't add up to 100. I need to change my number.
That's okay. Okay, what would you say for...
How many more do I need to divvy up?
So we have the social support transportation system and themselves.
Oh, okay. So themselves, I would put it like 2.
Okay.
Because when they leave us, people are typically not 100% when they leave us. We get them good enough to go home, and then we recommend home care or outpatient services.
Okay.
So I would put and sometimes people come to us because they got real bad cancer, but they're fairly functional, but they're quite ill. But they'll drive in the car, they don't care,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're pretty sick, but they're still functionally, compatible. So maybe, so 5% are driving themselves, 5% are using public transportation, and 10% are using 90% are using their social support system.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So my next kind of few questions was the topic of driving and if you bring it up with your client.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay. All right.
I always ask people if they're driving on the eval, and if they say yes, I always say you got to talk to the doctor before you're allowed to drive again.
Okay.
If I think the person is really going to drive, because a lot of times they say they are, and the daughter's like, oh, no, they haven't driven in a year. Okay. But if I think they're really going to drive, I'll do a couple of assessments, but we don't do the driving assessment at my place.
Okay.
I'll do the trail making or the MOFA, stuff like that, just so I can have some backup. But hardly anybody ever comes to me and is like, you said they could drive, and I'm like, nobody does that. The patients fight, but I'm like, that's something you got to take up with your daughter or your son.
Right. Okay. Yeah. How do your clients obtain groceries once they go home?
We recommend if they are not able to get their family to do it or have, some kind of help, we recommend that they try the grocery delivery services. Like some places do something called the Peapod, that's Stop and Shops, I think. Some places do it. But so many people, or Meals on Wheels, we recommend. But a lot of times, if somebody's going home 100% alone, the social worker is already involved in some kind of group home situation or like follow-up services. But we do recommend, like, if, your family is too busy to get to the store, we recommend Meals on Wheels or microwaves. A lot of times the people, like, even if we talk on the internet, they're going to forget it, like, that afternoon. People, like, are resistant to even wanting to try.
I know.
They're scared of the computer. They're scared of putting their credit card on the internet and all that.
Yes, it's intimidating for that generation, it seems.
Absolutely.
My parents' generation doesn't like to do it. Okay. So you've kind of touched base on this, but who among the interdisciplinary team is most likely to have a conversation about obtaining groceries or delivered meal programs with the client before discharge?
Oh, well, definitely OT.
Okay.
But absolutely social work, because we have a discharge planner. So OTs, we could talk about it until we're blue in the face, but the social worker is the one who puts it on, like, the main paper that leaves the building, because everybody gets a social work discharged.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, they have this main document that they fill out, and that's, like, the legal binding document about, like, what we planned for when they left.
Okay. When and how do you typically bring up the topic of obtaining groceries with your clients?
I started at initial. Like, if I meet the person, I'm like, how do you get your food? How do you cook it? Oh, and they always get my son, my daughter, my wife, or whatever.
Okay.
And then, so we'll talk about that, and then if we have a family follow-up meeting, I'll say, and Mr. So-and-so said that you'll help cook, right? And the person says yes, or they'll say, no way. And I'm like, all right, well, we need to talk about that then.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Okay.
But we talk about it at a house, and then at family meeting, and then I'll remind them at discharge, like, we talked about this is where we're at. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Do your clients typically have hobbies they enjoy at home or in their community, such as knitting or bingo?
Yeah, a lot of people like to do that kind of stuff, but I do get a lot of complaints that they can't do with it like anymore because of their illness. I get a lot of people who've been in the hospital for months, in and out.
Okay.
But yeah, most people say they watch TV.
Okay. Who among the interdisciplinary team is most likely to have a conversation about one's hobbies before discharge?
OT.
Okay. How?
The activities people come in, but they don't come to, like, the meetings with the social worker.
Okay. How do you bring this topic of hobbies up, and when do you typically bring it up?
Every day.
Okay.
We talk about it at about, and then during activity, I would say, so what do you like to do? Like, so I want to work on standing. So what do you like to do at home? And I'll try and dig something out of our activity area, like something basic. We have a handful of activities in there.
Okay.
If they like to do whatever, I'll say, oh, a lot of people like to color, which is great. I have cars, coloring. I have, like, some wooden blocks that sometimes we'll sand them. We haven't really made them into anything yet because, the person does it once and then they're tired of it.
Right.
I usually ask them every day because I don't want to just have random crap to do until they say, just pick something for me.
Right. Okay. Is there time to address one's hobbies in the skilled nursing facility setting?
Yeah, I try to work it into the treatment session, just while, if somebody's doing exercises, you can chat with them unless if they're breathing so hard they can't talk to you, you're not doing good exercise anymore.
Okay.
I'll say, so what are you working on? That's not really my main absolute thing. I try to work it in so that they're enjoying their treatment, but mostly it's, can you get up? Can you get to the bathroom? Can you get dressed? Time to go home. Because Medicare does not care if you can get to the store or not. They care if you're homebound, they don't care. They figure it out. Like, they're not going to keep somebody in a skilled nursing until they can get to the store or go home, which is really a shame.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Do you think discussions about driving, transportation, obtaining groceries, interacting with friends, and engaging in hobbies are something occupational therapy practitioners should routinely address with these clients prior to discharge.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. From your...
Yeah, we like talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
From your experiences, would you say occupational therapy practitioners are addressing these things with clients prior to discharge?
Yeah, for the most part, but a lot of times we're really concerned because we want to make sure the person, we're addressing the immediate needs.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you know, if we deviate too much and we're talking a lot about stuff that's like way beyond, like, can this person even sit on the edge of the bed?
Right.
Like, that's where we're at. That's who, like, really, Elizabeth, we're getting people who are so ill.
Mm-hmm.
So ill. Swollen, edema, Foley catheters, like, we talk about it, but also I don't like to talk about it too much because then I don't want them to feel like I'm setting that up for something that is not obtainable.
Okay. Okay. What percentage of practitioners would you say address these things with their clients?
Well, I can only speak for my colleagues, and I would say 100%.
Okay.
But I really don't know about other places.
Right. Okay. Do you think it depends on the skilled nursing facility or company whether these things are being addressed?
Yes, because a lot of places are more concerned with productivity, so a lot of therapists feel under the gun that they can only do certain things. And I hear that from my friends and from patients who come from other places.
Okay. Can you give me a range of what you are supposed to be at?
85.
Okay.
And that's generous.
Right. Okay. Do you think...
The assistants have to be 92.
Okay. Do you think insurance impacts whether or not these things are being addressed?
No.
Okay.
We might not achieve it, but we still address it. I don't care what insurance someone has, whether or not I address those things, so that's all part of somebody's occupational profile.
Okay. Thank you. Let's talk about your goal writing process. How do you create and develop goals in general for clients in your setting?
Well, I start with the 5 basic ADLs: bathing, dressing, grooming, toileting, and feeding. I start with those and all associated transfers that have to do with that, because that's the first thing that the caregivers, which are the nurses' aides, they need to know what's going on too, because you want to reduce burden of care. You know, that's the first thing that we want to address. The more independent somebody is, the less somebody else is going to get hurt. So that's A, letter A. And then once those goals seem like they're moving right along, like somebody can get dressed, I'll can pick out clothing, working at least somebody with clothes they want to wear. And sometimes if the person is fairly, well, like if they have like a hip or a knee, which I don't get too much anymore, but then if you get something like that, I'll do simple meal prep, like can you get something out of the refrigerator? Can you make a cup of coffee? Put in Keurig now. We don't have a Keurig in our place. They don't let us use the microwave anymore. Wow. Safety, whatever. It's unbelievable. You don't understand what's going on in our place.
Okay.
We don't have an ADL suite. It's unreal. The administrator is insane.
Okay. Do you guys have like a bathroom you can simulate, a bathtub, a walk-in shower, laundry?
No laundry. We make up our own bathtub by putting one of the activity tables on its side, and then we set the transfer bench up on top of it. We put it next to the parallel bar so they can swing their legs over it. We have a shower. We have a nice shower room, so we practice. I do showers all the time. Love doing showers.
Okay.
We don't have a laundry machine, but we have clothes and hangers, and we have people fold and hang stuff up.
Okay.
The rooms are nice and spacious, so we do stuff in the rooms like getting them over to the closet, to get stuff out of the closet, that kind of stuff. But, you know, this facility, when they built it, they weren't really thinking about ADL suite, I guess. But so many other places have it.
Yes. All right, thank you. What are some typical goals for your community dwelling older adults?
The 5 basic ADLs: bathing, dressing, grooming, toileting, feeding, and light meal prep, and transporting those items within the house. Okay.
Do you ever take your clients into, outside on uneven grounds, curb negotiation?
Yeah. Okay. I do it sometimes, but mostly the physical therapist does that. But I'll bring them outside to practice orientation, safety, because we have folks that live in our building that can get something called a green pass. So the person lives in our building because they have some kind of medical stuff, or they're older, but they're fairly put together mentally that they could get in and out of an elevator and go down to the coffee shop and maybe sit outside. So I'll take them down to make sure that they can negotiate all that kind of stuff safely.
Okay. How often do you perform home assessments?
Never. We're not allowed.
Okay, is that per your company or skilled nursing facility?
I don't know for sure. I thought it was a state law in New Jersey, but I've heard of other places doing it. But, I mean, really, that's so, off the radar. They don't send me out with the patient. So none of us ever do it. I really don't know.
Okay.
Somebody told me it was in New Jersey because the person goes home and the home therapist comes over.
Okay.
So I don't really know.
Okay, thank you. What percentage of your clients would you say you recommend to home health care, and then another percentage for outpatient? What would you divvy it up?
Like 95% home health, 5% outpatient.
Okay. Mm-mm. Are there any other barriers or factors you can think of that might kind of create or be a social isolation risk factor for this population?
Cognitive stuff. People are losing their, memories. It's tougher for them to function alone. Their social support system is working. Their higher support system is tired, so not everybody gets along. Not that they don't get along, but, if you hire somebody from a completely different background, different gender, different age to take care of an older man, there's not always a lot of conversation happening there, so there's that. A lot of times home health, they're there to keep the person safe, but they're not always companions. There's also, that. Medical, stuff I said before with the UTIs, not UTIs, incontinence, it's tough to leave the house when there's, worry about that, where's the bathroom. Okay. And a lot of people just have pain, arthritis, trouble breathing. For them, it's, really tough to just function safely. And a lot of times people have resorted to a safer thing, and I get it, because people have had some serious falls where they're totally, wiped out from that fall. Scares the crap out. Right.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything to add to anything we talked about?
No, I know that I wanted to be in the survey because I know that the Smith gets so much traction in the news about all these problems. I just want to make it very clear that I love being a therapist. Mm-hmm. And I feel really frustrated about a lot of stuff that's happening. Now, side note, I have a weekend job at an inpatient hospital, and it is the greatest place in the world. Mm-hmm. And every time I work, I leave a little note with a little smiley face that says, remember me when there's a full time. People don't leave this place because they love it. Therapists have worked there 30 years.
Wow, that's a very good sign.
I work there as a per diem, and I called this lady on the phone. I was like, I need to work at your place. Please let me know what I need to do. And she has no full-time opening, but she said you can work as much as you want as a per diem, and that's what I do. And every time I work there, I leave there, singing, because it is so great. Right. And that place is an OT's dream. So that's the type of OT that we should all be doing. And I worked at another SNF, which was fine. The the boss was real bad, but he ended up getting fired from the whole company. But they were fairly put together, OT suite. I believe it because the boss was super unethical, but of course he ended up getting fired. Too bad. I should have stayed, but I couldn't predict. This guy was having us. He would have had us all lose our licenses if there was ever an audit.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, but they had a nice OT suite and everything, and I just feel like these places they're more concerned with like getting them in, do your exercise, get them all in the room together, and get them out. They're not interested in the time.
Okay.
I don't get it.
I'm going to go ahead and say that concludes our interview. I'm going to stop recording just to let you know, okay?
Oh, okay. Okay.